You're listening to Rob McConnell in the X Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network. Visit us online at www.xzoneradio.com.
He was born in the summer of his 27th year, coming home to a place he'd never been before.
You're listening to Rob McConnell in the X Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network. Visit us online at www.xzoneradio.com.
Queens and high school girls with clear skin smiles.
The X Zone radio and TV show is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone radio and TV show or in any manner endorsed by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, Talkstar Radio Network, its affiliated stations, or employees.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Doing that thing you do, breaking my heart into a million pieces, like you always do. And you don't mean to be cruel, you never even knew about the heartache I've been going through. Well, I tried to forget you, girl. Just so hard to do. Every time you do that thing you do.
And happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and this is the X Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network. This is truly a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday, from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, and then the show is repeated in its entirety from 2 a.m. until 6 a.m. Eastern on the Talkstar Radio Network. If you'd like to give us a call, our toll-free number is 1-877-528-8255. That's toll-free throughout the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii. My email address is xzone@xzoneradio.com. Our websites, www.xzoneradio.com and xzonetv.com. On tonight's show, Gail Martin will be joining me in a few minutes. We're going to be talking about the Chronicles of the Necromancer. She's got a new book out in this series. It's called Dark Haven. Lisette Larkin joins us in hour number 3, talking about extraterrestrials. Hour number 3, Dr. Christian von Lohr and Christopher Valentine join us to talk about leprechauns. And in hour number 4, Rabia Erduman joins us to talk about veils of separation, finding the face of oneness. That's tonight, right here on the Talkstar Radio Network in the X Zone. My producer tonight at Master Control is the one and only Miss Melanie. Mel, nice working with you again. And our chat room moderator at X Zone TV is Rob from Scarborough. Rob, nice working with you too, and I'm glad to hear that everything is back up and running at xzonetv.com. Today is St. Patrick's Day. It is March the 17th. And St. Patrick died on this date in the year 461. On this date in 1776, British forces evacuated Boston. In 1898, the very first successful submarine was designed. And the Campfire Girls were created on this date in 1910. And according to sources, they're still in mint condition. Today is, as I said, St. Patrick's Day. And with the excessive amount of green today, I just can't resist the excessive feelings of feeling green tomorrow. Get it? Drinking turns you green from drinking all the green beer? Okay. Bill Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins is 42 today. Kurt Russell turns 58. And ironic that a nice Irish guy like Patrick Duffy would be born on St. Patrick's Day. He turns the big 6-0 today. And St. Patrick's Day, well, the anniversary of the death of St. Patrick, who, according to legend, drove all the snakes out of Ireland. The real truth about that is there were never any snakes in Ireland. Except some of the people that lived there, that is. But there were never any snakes, so of course he drove all the snakes out of Ireland. Actually, they were talking about the Celts when they said that they drove all the snakes out of Ireland. So there you go, a bit of X-Zone trivia. When I come back in 2 minutes from this commercial break, I'll be joined by GAIL Martin. And Gail's been on the show before. It'll be nice to talk to her tonight on St. Patrick's Day here in the X-Zone, a place where truly people dare to believe, and you can even believe in leprechauns because you never know when one's going to pop up and say hello around here. And it's a place where people dare to believe. 1-877-528-8255 is toll free. And I will be back in 2 minutes' time as the X-Zone commences for tonight, Tuesday, March the 17th, St. Patrick's Day in the year 2009. My name is Rob McConnell, and this is the X-Zone, live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Don't go away.
Oh, yeah. The moon. Beautiful. Some.
Her eyes, they shone like the diamonds. You'd think she was queen of the land. And her hair hung over her shoulders, tied up with a black velvet band. In a neat little town they call Belfast, apprentice to trade I was bound. And many an hour sweet happiness I spent in that neat little town, till bad misfortune came o'er me, that caused me to stray from the land. Far away from me friends and relations, they follow the black velvet band. Her eyes, they shone like the diamond.
Welcome back, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and this is the X-Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network. 1-877-528-8255. That's toll-free throughout the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii at 1-877-528-8255. My first guest tonight is GAIL Martin. She is the author of The Summoner, The Blood King, and Dark Haven in the Chronicles of the Necromancer series. Book 4, Dark Lady's Chosen, makes its international debut in December of 2009. And for book updates, tour information, and contact information, you can always visit her website at www.chroniclesofthenecromancer.com. GAIL discovered her passion for science fiction, fantasy, and ghost stories in elementary school. The first story she wrote, at age 5, was about a vampire. Her favorite TV show as a preschooler was Dark Shadows. At age 14, she decided to become a writer. Now, she enjoys attending science fiction fantasy conventions, Renaissance fairs, and living history sites. She is married, has 3 children, and a Himalayan cat, and a golden retriever. And GAIL Martin, welcome back to the X-Zone. How are you, GAIL?
Well, I'm doing well, thank you. How about you?
Any better, and I just couldn't take it.
Well, that's a great way to be.
Yeah, it is. Tell me, congratulations on your new book that's coming out in December, first one.
Thank you.
And how many books do you plan to write in the Chronicles of Necromancer series?
As many as I can. I have a lot of stories to tell in the world of the Winter Kingdoms, and I spend a lot of mental time there, so it's a fascinating place, and I just want to share it with the readers.
Now, what do you think is different about your series compared to, let's say, other epic fantasies?
Well, a lot of epic fantasies, especially if you're talking about high fantasy, the Lord of the Rings kind of fantasy, involves elves, dwarves, trolls, giants. I don't have any of those kind of mythic creatures.
None?
None.
Zip?
No, zip. No elves, no trolls, no dwarves, no giants, none of that. But what I do have is...
Do you have a donkey?
Pardon?
Do you have a donkey?
Not one that talks. But what I do have are vampires and werewolves and quite a bit of dark magic in a quasi-medieval fantasy setting. So the magic certainly is a frequent element in high fantasy, but vampires and werewolves a lot less frequently, and that makes it a lot of fun.
How much do you draw from the real paranormal sources for your books, like real magic, psychics, and the rest of the realm?
Quite a bit. I have a pretty eclectic bookshelf. I read pretty widely just so that I can treat the subject with respect and have a consistent system that I've built. My magical system in the Chronicles of the Necromancer isn't trying to adhere to any real-world system, but at the same time, there are elements and perspectives that have evolved in the real-world systems over thousands of years that help practitioners understand how the pieces come together. And so it's best to understand those kinds of things before you go and create your own system for the fantasy setting.
Where did you ever get the title, Chronicles of the Necromancer?
Well, I really look at the books almost as if they're a retelling of the history of the Winter Kingdoms. And so if you were going to have a medieval chronicler telling your story with a little bit of added flair and dash, you would, if he's talking about the exploits of a summoner king, end up with the Chronicles of the Necromancer. In fact, there's a little in-joke in the Summoner where they meet a guy who is a chronicle and a librarian, and he kind of becomes a follower, a hangers-on. And at one point, my main character, Tris, the Summoner, notices that the guy's carrying around his parchment and pen, and he says, "What are you doing?" He said, "Oh, this is just too good to miss. I've got to get all of this down. I'm calling it the Chronicles of the Necromancer." Kind of catchy, don't you think? So it's a little hidden in joke in there.
What other sources do you draw from to create your world of Winter Kingdom besides the paranormal?
Well, I had a history degree undergraduate and specialized in anything I could, medieval and European. And that fascination has continued throughout the series. I draw on a lot of myth and legend and archetype and read a lot of legend and oral retellings of real ghost stories and folklore from around the world. And I find that there are a lot of commonalities in those tales that span the entire world, that span time periods, that span continents. And those are the points of intersection that really fascinate me, because if there is some kind of archetype that pops up in every world culture across time and geography, then it's speaking to something really deep inside the human consciousness. And, where there's smoke, there's fire. There's a good story there.
Now, you've had a lifelong fascination with ghosts and vampires. Would you be able to explain what you mean and how it's affected in your books?
Well, as I had given you in my bio, I have loved vampires since I was a preschooler, and for some strange reason, my mom let me watch Dark Shadows. But one of the first books that I really remember reading until the cover fell off was a compilation of regional ghost stories from the Adirondack Mountain region in New York, where we vacationed frequently when I was a kid. I read that book literally until the binding fell apart. And I've always, since then, had a weakness for stories of real people's experiences with things that they couldn't explain, and stories of things that just don't fit in the boxes that we want to make for reality. I've always found them fascinating, and was always willing to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Now, your book tour this year takes you up and down the East Coast and even to England. Now, what's it like touring for a book like this?
It's a lot of fun. It's not a full-time tour, so it's mostly weekends. And as the books have come out, it's expanded from a few weekends to more weekends to an awful lot of weekends. But I love being in bookstores. I love being at Renaissance festivals and science fiction conventions. They're a lot of fun even when I'm not there for work, and they're still fun when I am. It's usually a good place to find some interesting conversations.
Oh, big time.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
And, you do enough conventions and festivals, you get to know some of the regulars, either the participants who are some of the entertainers at the Renaissance festivals or other authors and dedicated fans who show up at several conventions a year. I've also tried doing the week in a car going 3 states, 12 bookstores in a convention.
That must be horrible.
That was pretty exhausting. That was
Really?
about 1,600 miles, not counting the air travel up and back. And even though I was on home turf in Pennsylvania and Ohio and West Virginia, it was exhausting, and so I've learned to spread it out a little bit since then. But, it's the lure of the unknown. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know what conversation's going to come up, and there's always something pretty fascinating.
What does hubby and the 3 children think of Mom being a successful author?
They're pretty happy about it. They get to come to some of the conventions with me. Dragon Con is always a family affair, and they enjoy the genre, so they're all for it. At some point, my kids will get to the age where they realize that not everybody's books are signed to Mommy from the author. But I bring home a lot of books from my other friends, and it's an occupational hazard if you're a reader hanging out this much in bookstores, because the real challenge there is to sell more books than you find that you need to buy and bring home with you. So they're very much in favor of it, which is a big help.
Why do you think this genre, the world of fantasy, magic, and mysticism, has held the public's attention for so long?
Well, I think there's always something that we can't quite explain. And even with science and even with all our satellites and our sonars and our radars that see inside of things, there's still things that don't quite fit between the lines. And human beings have to have an explanation, so they'll invent one. They'll come up with one. They'll fill in the gaps as best they can.
And we're talking more than just the politicians in Ottawa and in Washington, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're creative on filling in the gaps too.
Boy, are they ever! Not to mention the big car industries; they did a pretty good job with that as well.
Yeah. But and I'm not talking intentional falsehood. I'm talking about creative explanation. Mankind has always wanted to know how things work,
That's right.
and especially if it's the things that go bump in the night. You feel a lot better if you have some idea rather than just saying, I have no idea what that was, but it sounded big and hungry.
Well, that's better than saying I don't have any idea who that is.
Who that is or what it is, yeah.
Listen, you and I have to take a commercial break with the news, Gail. Please stand by. It's great having you with us, and congratulations on your success. You well deserve it.
Oh, thank you.
Gail Martin's our special guest. She is the author of The Summoner, The Blood King, and Dark Haven in the Chronicles of the Necromancer series. Her book number 4, Dark Lady's Chosen, is going to be making its international debut in December of 2009. Her website, www.chroniclesofthenecromancer.com. That's Chronicles of the NECROMANCER.com. Gail will be back with me when I come back from the news on the other side of this break. If you'd like to give us a call and ask Gail any questions, 1-877-528-8255 is toll-free throughout the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii. And this is the X Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network. You can always chat with me using MSN Messenger at talkstarradio@hotmail.com. My name is Rob McConnell, and this is the X Zone, live and around the world from our studios in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network. Don't go away.
Her eyes, they shone like the diamonds. You'd think she was queen of the land. And her hair hung over her shoulders, tied up with a black...
This is a really scary question. Is your home mortgage payment about to double? Did you get one of those teaser-rate home mortgages several years ago? Is your short-term fixed-rate home mortgage loan getting ready to adjust automatically? then your friends in the money business, Prime Pacific Capital, say you do need to listen to this. Lending companies nationwide are rapidly changing their approval guidelines. Prime Pacific Capital is a nationwide broker that will work hard to get you into a solid long-term fixed-rate mortgage. Call Prime Pacific Capital for a free loan consultation before your loan converts to an adjustable rate and your payments double. Don't delay. We specialize in all credit grades. Pick up the phone today and call 1-866-464-1800. Talk to a Prime Pacific Capital loan specialist. Call 1-866-464-1800. 1-866-464-1800.
Whether it's the arrival of Planet X in 2012, the Earth's crazy weather cycles, our deadly global warming, Armageddon, UFOs, ETs, terrorism, the critical mass 2008 presidential elections, Dr. Jason Rand talks the talk and walks the walk. Being a twice-nominated Grammy record producer, recording artist, publisher, lecturer, UFO ET researcher and investigator, and best-selling author of The Return of Planet X, Mankind's Ongoing Legacy with a Brown Dwarf Star, Dr. Jason Rand truly does walk the walk and talk the talk. For more information on Dr. Jason Rand or to order The Return of Planet X, visit his website at www.returnofplanet-x.com or call 901-336-9660. And where will you be in the year 2012?
Listening to Rob McConnell in the X Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network. Visit us online at www.xzoneradio.com.
Hey, got a better order for the singers here. Thank you. I've been a wild rover for many a year, and I've spent all my money on whiskey and beer. But now I'm returning with gold in great store, and I swear I will play the wild rover no more. What? And it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more will I play the wild rover. No, never, no more. I went into an alehouse that I used to frequent, and I told the landlady me money was spent. I asked her for credit, but she answered me...
Welcome back, everyone. It is St. Patrick's Day, March the 17th, and happy St. Patrick's Day to one and all. 1-877-528-8255 is our toll-free number, and my email address is xzone@xzoneradio.com or xzone@talkstarradio.com. My guest is GAIL Martin. She's the author of The Summoner, The Blood King, and Dark Haven in the Chronicles of the Necromancer series, and her fourth book, Dark Ladies Chosen, makes its international debut in December of 2009. GAIL, have you ever run into a negative reaction from someone about the kinds of subjects you write about, and if so, how do you handle it?
Well, fortunately, not too often. You know, when I do bookstore signings, I generally am at the front of the store, and I encounter people as they come in and get them interested in the book, and I can tell just by the way their pupils dilate whether or not I've got a fantasy reader or not. As soon as I say the word fantasy, some people, start closing off. Other people, you can see the interest in their face right then. Every now and again, I have had a couple of odd reactions from people who kind of backed away and crossed their fingers at me. Maybe they confused fantasy writer with vampire. I don't know. Had a few condescending religious comments, but fortunately very few. And I guess I have always been curious if my book was the subject of magic and necromancy got that kind of a reaction, whether they also carefully bypassed all books in the store that dealt with, say, murder, adultery, fornication. I just like to see that they're consistent. But you got to laugh. I mean, people are funny. The crossed fingers did sort of make me wonder, because it was daylight out. I mean,
it's when they start, coming at you with the crucifix and the garlic, then you've got a problem, I guess.
Well, yeah, I haven't had that so far. Like I said, it's really been very rare. But you have to laugh. What else are you going to do?
I remember going to a UFO convention here in Toronto near the airport at the big center, the convention center that they have there. And this gentleman came over with a roll of tin foil and gave me some to put it over my head so that the aliens couldn't impregnate my head.
Oh, well, Reynolds Wrap has a million uses.
Yes, not all of them are here on this planet. What was your most unusual moment at a convention?
Wow. I actually find conventions to be pretty normal places. What I love is the chance to sit up late and have those kind of great conversations that you usually don't get once you're out of college, the kind that just spring up spontaneously at, say, 2 in the morning that tend to fade away after you enter the real world, and you have to come back into some special circumstances to get them.
Yeah, because when you start a conversation at 2 o'clock in the morning, now it's, Shani, I'm trying to sleep.
or it starts with, Mommy, I don't feel good. Which, usually means you've got
Or how about this one? The dog's got to go out.
Yeah. So after you get out of college, those 2 o'clock in the morning conversations aren't nearly as much fun, and that's really one of the things I love about doing conventions is the chance to just sit around and talk with a lot of other people who have read the same book, seen the same movie, and get the same joke.
Yeah, it's nice to talk to people who are all on the same wavelength.
Well, it's nice because science fiction, fantasy, it's been moving more mainstream, I think you could argue, recently than it was in prior years. But, there's still plenty of places where you might think twice before you admit that that's actually your passion. People do still look at you sideways sometimes for it, except at the conventions where you can, say it loud and proud.
That's right, you can be yourself.
Very open about it, which is wonderful.
Exactly. 1-877-528-8255, toll free. My special guest is the one and only GAIL Martin. She's the author of The Summoner, The Blood King, and Dark Haven, and the Chronicles of the Necromancer series. So, what do you do to chill out? Do you watch TV? Do you watch the paranormal movies? Or what do you do?
Well, if the kids aren't around, or at least my youngest isn't around, I may actually tune into some of the things on History Channel or, Discovery Channel that deal with ghosts and hauntings and historical paranormal situations. I tend to find a lot of inspiration in History Channel and Science Channel on historical battles and machines of war and all of that. You never know when understanding the inner workings of a trebuchet is really going to come in handy in my business. And, I'll admit that when my youngest, who's 9, is up and around, most of the time we tune into something like Mythbusters or How It's Made. Or
I love How It's Made.
I love How It's Made. Yeah. I love Mythbusters, too. I mean, they take apart all the stuff you see on TV and explain whether or not it would really work. So that's what I tune into, something like Unwrapped or How It's Made. Mm-hmm. That it's entertaining without taking a whole lot of concentration.
Plus, it's also educational.
I'm not much into plotline at that time.
You see, what happens after I go off air here, I have to do a whole bunch of work, and then there are shows that I've got to edit and put up on iTunes and so on and so forth. And between 2 and 3 in the morning, NCIS is on. And I love that show. Mm-hmm. I love it. And then there's an hour of MASH. And then, so by the time I get to bed at 5:30, 6 o'clock, that's what I do to relax.
I understand completely. My very first paying job ever was as a graveyard shift DJ.
Really?
Oh, yes. So I have done the midnight to 6 shift on radio.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, it's not too bad when you're doing a talk show, but I remember when I did a music DJ job. And back then it was the old cart machines. Mm-hmm. And you had to queue up all the carts, and you'd have to hit the right button at the right time, and come 6 o'clock in the morning, or 5:30, that's my gray time. Mm-hmm. Well, there were times when I've actually missed the wrong button and fired the wrong thing.
It was actual LPs and carts, and yes, I was a music DJ, and I was amazed to find out how many people I knew either didn't sleep or were still up. So,
but the nice part about doing that job was I used to have a contest every morning at 3 o'clock. And I'd say, all right, for the first pizza company that brings us a pizza, we'll play your favorite song. You know, I eat for nothing for, 2 years?
That works. That works.
Sure does,
now, we were locked in the inner sanctum of a shopping mall, so I'm not sure how we would have gotten that pizza.
Food for thought.
Yes.
Okay, so what do you think about all the different paranormal shows that are on TV now?
You know, I'm fascinated with the trend because it really has moved all of these things much more mainstream, from the, crossing over shows to the shows that have a main character that's a psychic or a paranormal investigator. I think it's bringing the whole subject into a broader exposure, and anytime that happens, it's good for the genre because it makes it more familiar and therefore less geekish, and people are more likely to pick it up and try it. And I think you've seen the explosion of paranormal romance and authors like Sherilyn Kenyon.
Yes.
And, when you move into that realm of bestseller, you've got an awful lot of people who have got, it's got one foot in the romance genre, but you're talking magic and vampires and all kinds of paranormal creatures. It doesn't take much to have somebody wander one more aisle over to those of us in sci-fi and fantasy and go, I wonder if this is like that, and try something new.
It always amazes me how they are able to edit a 4-hour, 5-hour, 6-hour investigation into 22 minutes. They do such a good job of that.
Well, they do, and everybody is very helpful in leaving all kinds of trace evidence, and nobody ever goes down a blind alley or hits a dead end. It's amazing how efficient they can be.
Oh, I thought I was the only critic out there.
Well, I'm not huge on crime dramas, but I have to say I have enjoyed the couple of episodes of Fringe that I've seen. And again, hey, it's got the paranormal element. I'm nothing if not consistent. But that's been pretty interesting.
Now, you've often said being dead doesn't make you a bad person. Now, what do you mean by that?
Well, if you think about a lot of the movies that we've grown up on, whether it's Day of the Dead or Night of the Living Dead or Shaun of the Dead, whatever you've got, the idea is that all of a sudden, if you're awakened from the dead, then you become this flesh-eating monster. Well, my supposition is that if you weren't a flesh-eating monster before you died, you're probably not going to suddenly turn into one after you're dead.
Yeah, but you see, you're logical.
But, if you were a good person before you died and somebody reawakens you or your spirit just doesn't find rest, I don't think you're suddenly going to turn into a ravening monster. On the other hand, if you were a lousy person before you died, you probably aren't going to improve on the other side. And what makes it challenging and fun for me as I build my world and create my characters is that they've got a choice, whether they're Vayash Maru, who are my vampires, or the Virkin, who are my werewolves, or ghosts. If they have sentience, they have a choice, and they can decide whether they're dead or alive about the ethics of their action. And that makes it much more interesting to me than just the fact that, wham, you're a vampire, you must be bad. I think there's a lot of prejudice involved in that statement.
You know what makes me laugh? Whenever the vampire movies would come on, they're always in Romania, and they always talk like this, right? Bram Stoker was Irish.
Well, and I think he clued into the Vlad Tepes story, which is a fascinating, just the mythology around dear old Vlad.
Vlad the Impaler,
Vlad the Impaler, speaking of somebody who wasn't exactly cuddly before death and probably didn't improve on the other side. But I'm sure that played into his decision to set it in far off, Romania.
I guess that's where the expression "I'm going to stick it to you" came from.
Well, he certainly was good at that. That and all the other variations.
Yeah. Excuse me, can I bite your esophagus? Blah. Have you been tested for AIDS?
Somehow that just never seems to bother vampires. I guess,
Oh, I love how you and I can digress.
That's the fun of it.
I know.
Those late-night conversations I was talking about.
I have a friend in Montreal who says, you're here for a good time, not for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then he pauses and he says, this time, but maybe you'll get it right next time.
There's a lot to be said for that point of view.
Oh, yes, there is. There certainly is.
Well, and that's one of the things I enjoy playing with as I get to know the vampire characters better in my series, and there are a number who have become gradually more and more significant characters, is how would you change over 200, 300, 400 years? What would cease to be important to you anymore? How many things that we stress out about just wouldn't matter? Even some of the things in the political, financial realm, if you know you're going to outlive all of it, would you really lose any sleep over it? Because it will all be gone and you'll still be here. And it's really got to change your whole perspective on everything around you.
Well, it certainly would. It's just like the exact opposite when people find out that, God bless them, they have a terminal disease and that they only have so long to live. That song by Tim McGraw.
Live like you were dying.
Right. It says it all.
But how many things that we're really willing to go to the mat about, we get hot and bothered and froth at the mouth over, and yet we even know in a moment of sanity 5 years from now nobody will even be able to remember the headline. Now multiply that by a lifespan in the hundreds of years, and how much would change? I had a chance to be a guest blogger on John Marco's blog back in November, and just kind of got an opportunity to riff on, how would it affect religion? How would it affect politics? How would it affect all these other relationships if you had a portion of the population that lived that long? Or that you could have somebody who could bring back the ghosts of significant people and say, now, Thomas Jefferson, tell us, when you wrote the Declaration of Independence, what did you really mean in that Second Amendment?
Exactly.
Were you thinking AK-47s, or did you really mean militia?
Or, besides that, Mrs. Lincoln, how did you like the play?
Yeah. But, we make such a cottage industry of reading into the past, and, of course, every generation has its revisions. But what would happen if we could get the word straight from the people who were there? Our myth-making falls apart. No, it really wasn't that glamorous. Let me tell you what it was really like.
Or if we were to ask the question, what would happen if the Bible was written today with what we knew about science, physics, astronomy, and philosophy? How different would the Bible be written? You and I have to take our final break for this hour. Please stand by, Gail. www.chroniclesofthenecromancer.com. That's chroniclesofthenecromancer.com. We'll be back on the other side of this break, right here on Talkstar.
There's a new kind of television station that presents movies without commercial interruption that you can watch without any sort of subscription fee. Find out online at whitesprings.tv. The people who bring you Talkstar Radio have a television network you can watch for free on the Internet, direct from space on your own small dish and receiver, or on a growing number of TV stations and cable systems across America. White Springs TV presents a great mix of movie greats and not-so-greats, as well as more recent family-friendly titles. The movies are commercial-free. Between the movies are cartoons, soundies, previews, classic TV, and two-reelers. Go to whitesprings.tv. That's www.whitesprings.tv. A service of White Springs Media, a new kind of commercial-free movie channel you can watch for free.
Are you getting tired of
of all the bad news? Well, then take a break from the worries of the world and play the love game. It's time to focus on what is really important in our lives, our relationships. You deserve more love, happiness, and harmony in your life. Synchro Hearts is the new hot relationship game that guarantees more love, laughter, and romance for you and your partner. It's not a sex game, it's a love game based on all the important relationship stuff like better communication, more intimacy, and lots of fun and excitement. Great intimacy is just one of the benefits of playing Synchro Hearts. Now, President Obama inspires hope, love, and peace for the world. Synchro Hearts offers more hope, love, and harmony for relationships. To order your very own edition of Synchro Hearts, visit Synchro Hearts' website now at www.synchrohearts.com. That's www.synchrohearts.com. Synchro Hearts. It's the game you love to play and play to love. And welcome back. My name's Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone. My special guest this hour is GAIL Martin. And GAIL, thank you so much for coming on tonight. It's always great talking to you, and I wish you nothing but success in the way you're going. Geez, when's then book number 5 coming out? Number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9?
Book number 3 just came out in February, so I'm still really on the first cusp of that tour.
Uh-huh.
And I'm turning in the manuscript for book 4 in about 2 weeks, so that it'll be coming out toward the end of the year. And then I get about a month to catch my breath.
Wow.
And I start on book 5. And been keeping it up at a book a year, and I hope to keep that pace going.
So let's see, you're 23 now.
Slightly older than that.
All right, 24.
Okay, I'll take that.
So what else are you going to be doing besides, are you going to be going to any conventions, speaking, giving lectures on how to be an author?
Actually, I've got a full convention schedule, and that stays updated on the homepage of my Chronicles of the Necromancer website, but I'll be at RavenCon and Balticon and Con Carolinas and DragonCon, and then in September I'll be at FantasyCon in Nottingham, England.
You know what? That brings up a very interesting question.
If
a leprechaun goes to prison, does that mean he's really a leprechaun?
Well, there you have it. I think you heard it here first.
That's right. So, once again, congratulations. It's always great talking to you. And if you had, let's say, one tidbit of advice to help any young author out there, what would it be?
Write the story you want to read and love it enough to stay with it until it comes true for you.
Perseverance.
That's the whole trick to writing, is just stick with it and never give up.
And never let anyone talk you out of your dream.
Never, ever, ever.
My dear friend, take care of yourself. Please drop by again and see us. You're always welcomed here in the X-Zone.
Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
I will, and happy St. Patrick's Day to you.
You too.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Gail Martin has been our guest this hour, X-Zone Nation. She's the author of The Summoner, The Blood King, and Darkhaven in the Chronicles of Necromancer series. Book number 4, Dark Ladies Chosen, makes its international debut in December of 2009. For updates or to listen to her podcast, she's the host of the Ghost in the Machine Fantasy Podcast. Visit www.chroniclesofthenecromancer.com. That's www.chroniclesofthenecromancer.com. When I come back from this news break at the top of the hour at 6.5 minutes past, Lisette Larkins is going to be joining me. We're going to be talking about her conversations with extraterrestrials. That's here next on the X-Zone. After all, this is truly a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard, Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern. That is 7 p.m. Pacific until 11 p.m. Pacific. I'll be back on the other side talking to Lisette Larkins about ETs as we continue on Talkstar.